Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday to you. Welcome to the Impact Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Bright. This is a show where we meet exceptional people who are taking bold steps to create a positive impact in the world. If you're seeing this or hearing it, please give us a follow or subscribe on whatever platform you are using. I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsor, MakerTank. MakerTank is the all-in-one command center for founders and small business owners ready to ditch the chaos and scale with clarity. MakerTank allows you to centralize, automate, and actually run your business without drowning in busy work. Visit makertank.com today to join the exclusive Founders Waitlist. And so now let's get to our guest. I'm very excited for you to meet this individual. Today's guest is a visionary leader who is redefining what it means to lead with purpose, connection, and courage. As Executive VP of the Mosaic Quarter, one of Southern Arizona's most ambitious sports and entertainment developments, she is helping shape a future where community, business, and innovation meet. She's also serving as the chair of the Southern Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and immediate past president of CREW, Tucson, championing equitable economic growth and greater representation for women and underrepresented voices in business and real estate. As if that's not enough, she's also been recognized as a woman visionary. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Woman of influence and a 40 under 40 honoree. She brings heart and authenticity to every boardroom and every community she touches. And so with that, I'm so excited to welcome my guest to the stage, Linsday Knott. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. We're on the downslope of the week, so it's exciting.
I know. It's like we're heading into the weekend, and hopefully you get to enjoy the weekend. I've been trying to be better about enjoying the weekend. As an entrepreneur, I tend to just work all the time, but I need to get better boundaries.
Yeah, I don't know. You let me know if you find the solution for that, but we'll do our best. I heard someone once say, like, there's no such thing as balance. It's just like how we do our best to prioritize our schedule. I don't know that we ever figure that out, but
yes, I know. And that's the challenge with us sort of ambitious types that feel like we are crazy enough to change things, that there's always something to do. There's always more people to meet or connections to make or something. So, I know. Well, thank you so much for being here. I know that we were scheduled last week and you had a conflict. And so we were fortunate to get this week. And that's what's nice. We can be flexible. So I appreciate you making the time. And we go back, let's see. When was that Fast Pitch event? Was that 2 years ago?
well, I think
Oh,
the
no,
first
more than that.
way more because you were presenting at the Y maybe, or even before that, you were coaching when we were at
Oh,
Habitat.
that's true. That's true.
I
I'd
don't know if it was
forgotten we go back that far.
Yeah, I was a founder, like in the very beginning of Fast Pitch, I was a coach
hmm
for when we had the first iterations of Fast Pitch. So it's
Oh,
been
wow. Okay, so that was
yeah.
like 2014,
I had Handy Dogs. I don't know if you
15.
remember Handy Dogs.
I
Yeah.
do. I do.
Yeah. So that was the very first year of Fast Pitch, and I was a coach then or a mentor or whatever. Yeah. Then
And I think it's fascinating now that I recognize that we went back that far. That was where I started with it. That was where Fast Pitch started. You were involved. And then kind of full circle when your daughter was
yeah,
up on stage as a Fast Pitch participant.
yeah, it was so, it's interesting. She didn't want to tell me she was even like working the process because I had been so enmeshed and kind of stepped back from Fast Pitch because I'd been a mentor for a really long time. Then I was a judge for a little bit. I was a corporate sponsor, and I kind of transitioned during that phase. But she was now in her starting a her career in
hmm
nonprofit. And then she was like, Mom, I want to tell you something. And it was this big surprise. She'd gone through the whole process. There'd been some evolution in SVP. And she's like, Mom, I'm going to be on Fast Pitch. And it was such a joy to like be like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting for you. So I've had a big love for Fast Pitch, just the process and how it develops individuals, but also shares the mission and the consolidation that sometimes needs to happen afterwards. It's just such a great program. So.
It really is, and it's something I know I've had a few conversations in the last few months about things I'm particularly proud of, and Fast Pitch came up as one that I was there like in the when they were talking about it. They were like, "This is something the other SVP organizations have done. We're thinking of doing it here," and I was able to help shape aspects of that. And it's this legacy I feel very proud of, that people are learning how to communicate.
Mhm.
People are learning how to share what they do and get more people involved. And I thought it was also wonderful that I ended up in the audience at the Fast Pitch event with Rebecca speaking, and I was with her whole crew. I didn't even realize it. And speaking of which, Abby just joined us in the chat. Abby was
Oh.
sitting. I got to meet Abby right there at that moment. I was like, "Hello, Abby." So it was like the energy was pulling me to you
He's
and
so
your
jealous.
family and the whole group.
Ah.
So
Yeah, your friends are sometimes the family you choose. And I think Tucson's so beautiful for that. I was just at Visit Tucson's new unveiling for their new brand. They
uh-huh.
just did a new brand.
Yeah.
And they were talking about like, welcome, come, don't fit right in is their new,
Mm.
like, their North Star concept that they're doing is don't fit right in about Tucson.
Uh-huh.
And I love that it's just like, be who you are. And we have a place for everybody. And I really love that about our community, is that I found some people in this community, this niche of some good folks that have become that family that show up for you. Like, perfect example, Fast Pitched. I had an entourage of people that were there that are like our family, but they're our chosen family. So definitely family,
Yes.
but also chosen family.
No, and I love that aspect about Tucson. I do miss that, the sort of those quirky individuals that are just themselves, and there's this warmth, this energy that people have. And it's funny, before we got on live, I was telling Lindsay that I just relocated to Seattle, and when we lived in Seattle prior to living in Arizona, and I'd grown up in that area, and there was this whole thing called the Pacific Northwest Freeze, which is just this: people are friendly but not, they don't go out of their way, and you don't feel genuine, authentic. It's very superficial. They don't want to let you in. And when I first moved to Tucson, I remember saying to my wife, I'm like, this is so strange. People are talking to me. People are saying hi. People are getting in these whole conversations. She goes, yeah, this is what it's like to live somewhere where it's sunny.
Yeah,
So,
they feel like they can just be out there, just sharing things.
exactly. We're just open. So
Yeah.
um anyway, so I absolutely understand that. And for anyone listening or watching that has not enjoyed Tucson, been to Tucson, go to Tucson. Check it out. It's a wonderful community. I highly recommend. You will meet some of your best friends in the very short time you're there. So
It's a great place.
so speaking of best friends, I don't know that we're best friends, but I feel very connected to you. You've always been, I think between you and your daughter Rebecca, you've both been very transparent and open about the journey that you've been on and the things that you've gone through that have made you who you are, and strong individuals that you are. And so I'd love to hear from your perspective a little bit of your background and kind of what's led you to do the work that you're doing now with Mosaic.
So it's interesting, when you're young, you think, what am I going to be? I've talked to some people that are like, oh, my kid's graduating and they have no idea what they're going to do. I have a nephew who's graduating this year. They're like, he has no clue what if he's going to go to community college. He's like filling out applications because this is the free time right now. But we have no idea what he's going to even do with that. And I don't think it is routine that any young person knows from the time they're like young, I'm going to be this, I'm going to do this. They know they want to be something, but they
Mhm.
don't really know what. And I think for me, I have always been, and I've worked on this a lot, like the strong-willed child, the defiant,
Mm.
moving with a purpose. Whatever I was doing so defiantly. My mom and dad would talk about, like, I came out, I was doing a show. From the time I came out, I'm like, we're doing a show. Everyone sit down. I'm performing a show. And I have a sister who's 22 months younger than me, and she's like the most passive, like
Mm.
easy. She was always like I was Batman. She had to be Robin because she was never going to be like, she could never be the like alpha. She had to be like the demure one.
Yeah.
But what kind of fit her personality. I don't know if I shaped her personality to be that way because she was just 22 months younger, but and so I knew whatever I did, I wanted to do with passion.
Mm.
And so my parents, I'm a West Texas girl. There's passion that comes with Texas people. I think when you meet a Texas person, they're that way. But I came from a really strong Christian home, Christian environment. And there was not a lot of flexibility as the firstborn. I have two sisters. I have my sister Haley, who's only 22 months younger, and then I have a sister. My mom and dad my mom particularly wanted a son. So we had Rachel. That worked out really well for her to have another daughter. So there's a lot of pressure with firstborns. I don't know if,
I'm a firstborn. Yep.
Right.
My wife's a firstborn.
You set the standard and you're setting the example. And so I felt there was a balance somewhat between trying to set the standard, but also having the freedom to explore what that could be. And I didn't feel like I had a lot of freedom. And I think that's something in my adult years, I've been able to talk with my mom a little bit about. My dad passed away. It's been 11 years, but my mom in particular, there's some regret she's expressed that I didn't give her the autonomy to really just express myself. I didn't come from a family like that. And that's no criticism on her. It's just, she did the best she could. And so there wasn't a lot of flexibility. That led to putting me in private Christian school in high school and resulted in, I was a teen mom. We didn't have a lot of conversation about, we just didn't do certain things. And so I think there was some, I know there was a lot of shame that came with that because we couldn't talk about those behaviors at teen pregnancy. We couldn't talk about, just things that teenagers go through. And so being a mom was the first time in my entire life that the decisions for me couldn't be mandated on me. Like, you will do this. I could choose what I was doing. And so there wasn't a lot of options in a small, I was from Amarillo, Texas. There wasn't a lot of, well, we do this. It was like, do you want to give your baby up for adoption or do you want to have your kid? And I was starting my senior year of high school. So by the time people were finding out, I had started my senior year. And it didn't even, the possibility of not graduating from high school hadn't even occurred to me. I was just like, that's not even a question. I'm just going to graduate and I'm going to figure it out. And so I had Rebecca. I was 16 when I got pregnant, 17 when I had her. I had her in the middle of my senior year of high school. My favorite thing now is when we go out, people are like, are you guys sisters? And she's like, I'm going to kill you. Like, please please stop saying that. I love it. I'm like, I have a great skincare routine. It's wonderful. But we are 17 years apart. And so I had her. It was the toughest thing because my family was not very supportive of that. And so it pushed my hand. If I wanted to make adult decisions, then I had to be an adult. So I walked a really tough road and it was my choosing. I mean, I could have said, I'm going to go down an adoption path and I'm going to live here and do that. I couldn't imagine that path. And so, so I did difficult things. And I've talked about that in other groups. I lived in a HUD housing. I didn't even know what HUD housing was. I had WIC checks. I was like, what is WIC? I had to apply for a WIC. I was on Medicaid because my parents' insurance covered the beneficiary, but not the beneficiary's beneficiary. These are things like I was learning and I was 17 years old. So that kind of set a standard. And I think there are times when you have within you the decision. No one told me, Lindsay, you need to do these things. No one said, Lindsay, I would sit in the Texas Tech Medical Center, which is where people who were in my circumstance were. No one said to me, you better do this or you better do that. I just decided I'm not going to do certain things and I am going to do other things. And this was not going to define me, but inspire me. And I think that, the number one contributor to poverty a lot of times is teen pregnancy. And I would look around the room and see women who had an infant in a carrier and were there for an OB appointment. And I was like, did you not know how this happened the first time? Like, what are we doing here? Because I was so afraid of doing it again. But there was a lack of communication because they didn't have self-empowerment. And I don't know where that came from. It just was in me. No one sat me down and said, hey, Linz, don't do this again. I just wasn't going to do it. And that theme has carried from that 17-year-old child, having a child. I mean, I was in essence a child through my whole life, that I've continued to encounter some things that are not from choices I've made. Some are from choices it took me a longer time to change, to decide I'm not doing that. Some things have happened that I'm like, but why would that have happened? I feel like I don't have any idea where that came from. But you have a choice. Your attitude is your decision. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if there's one thing I want to communicate, and I've tried to communicate to my children, to those around me, to people I continue to come in contact with, to people I do business with, it's the attitude. Your attitude is your decision, and you're accountable for that. You have to look at yourself. You have to live with yourself. That's the one person you can never run from is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, my background being a teen mom, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but it was obvious I didn't belong in most rooms.
Yeah.
And so I think that limited the inhibition to say, what I don't know what we're doing here. Can you help me out? It was very clear I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think some people feel like they have to know everything. You have to present polished and perfect, and you have to, oh, I already knew that. Or I'm sure you know this. And you're like, yeah, I knew that. And you're like, I didn't know that. But you don't want to say you didn't know that because then you look crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the luxury to say, I know that because everyone knew I looked 17 and I was carrying a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Or I didn't have the funds because my parents weren't supporting me because I'd chosen to be an adult. And so that walked me right in the door for throwing out any pride on I already know, to just walk up and be like, how did you get there? And I really need to like fast track to get to where you are. And can you help me? And I've carried that through my whole career. And I've been so blessed to have people who have been good to me to say, let me help you. You need to know this person. And I've tried to model that with my peers, with my people I know. It's something I'm very passionate about, giving people an opportunity. We're going to stumble. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to be underestimated in our careers or in our roles. But how can we, we're dealing with these people at the grocery store, at the, on the baseball field with other people. We're going to deal with each other as humankind. So how can we be kind to each other and help each other to have a better place that we're in,
Mm-hmm.
whatever environment we're in? And so I think that's kind of the story. So fast forward, in a short piece, I spent 20 years building that career. And now here I am at Mosaic Quarter, which has been the most rewarding piece yet, because I think I'm I'm 44 and I'm in my stride, I feel like, because I'm doing something that marries both my passion, which is helping the community, but also my professionalism, the things I've worked really hard to establish, and also helping those that need support to get there. So whether it's a family who can't afford to have their kid playing, but gives them an opportunity to play sports so they can be able to have that interaction, or having this conversation with community partners and saying, hey, we want to lift our mission. Can we do it at your spot? And so it's really a good time. And I've just been really blessed to have the tools to be able to put those things all together and marry them. So.
Wow, there's a lot there.
A lot to unpack.
That was like this 25-year or 30-year journey. Well, I mean, it took me 45 years. I'm 52 right now, but it took me probably 45, 48 years to realize that, like, well, the universe kind of puts stuff in front of you, and like as you said, it's kind of, you may not be able to control all that, but it's how you respond to it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, for you to have that level of self-awareness at such a young age, and obviously sort of forced into it, it's kind of like, well, I got to deal with what's here, right? But to have that awareness about, I can't pretend, I have to be honest and say, because everyone's already looking at me, I have to say I don't know, or how do I learn? That is feels like such a game changer for how you approach the world moving forward. Because I know for myself, I grew up in an environment where I don't know that it was explicit, but I always felt like I had to know what I was doing. Like I had to be very commanding and capable and put forward a good front. I mean, my parents were, WASPs, Scottish, English. And so it was like all about appearances. Yeah. And it's probably only in the last 6 years that I've started to kind of break down that facade of like, being able to say like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't know what to do here. But that's been really, really hard. And so I can only imagine how powerful that's been for you to just, kind of shrug your shoulders like, oh, well, you're doing it. How do we do it?
We have to be clear. I mean, there's a lot of shame that comes with that. You own that. You're like, I am the scarlet letter. I am the failure. There was all these dreams and expectations. I failed them. I mean, don't think that it wasn't without a lot of, I lost my peer group. My friends were in college. I missed out on that. When I sent my kids to college, I'm like living a little vicariously through them. Like, please take advantage advantage of this because I didn't get to. Like, there is a grieving that happens with that.
Yeah.
So it isn't just, oh, well, just marching ahead. But there is a piece of now looking at that journey and looking back. I didn't have the luxury of discretion. I didn't have the luxury of, I think we get caught up hearing like, I think there's a coined term, people are like, you have a life of privilege. And while I would say I had privilege, my parents loved me. I never worried about my utilities being on. I was fed. I was in an environment that was relatively, my parents were married till my dad died. We had Christmases. Those things were great. But there were also, there was a standard. And when I made the decision that I made, and they were like, good luck to you, that was serious. It was good luck to you. And I've had to really work over the last several years to realize I kind of pivoted to my pendulum kind of swing both ways. Like, I'm on my own and I can't rely on anyone, to I can rely on people, and people are just people and they're going to let you down. And so how are you going to respond when they do? So at the end of the day, we're on this planet to be with people. That's the reality. And so how can we work with people and still be proud of who we are in the end? And I think that's the balance. Is I couldn't be swinging, all in with everyone. I've been burned by that. I trust you. And then they're like, they're not nice people. Yeah. So there's a balance in that. But also I'm accountable for me at the end of the day. So what can I do that I feel proud, that I handle myself with integrity, that I'm lifting people up, that I'm making connections that are going to help them to be better people, that those kind of things. And how can I not repeat the things that were hard lessons? I just was talking to a girlfriend the other day. Some people learn by counsel and some people learn by consequence. Well, I learned with a consequence. I wasn't going to repeat that. Some people have to have several consequences and they're like, dang, it's harder. So I don't want the consequence again. I'm like, I'm done with that. So, I think, there's still a pressure as a firstborn. I relate to you so much. Like, I still want my mom to be proud. I still want her to see, I'm like, Mom, I did this. I brought home a prize. I still have that in me, with my friends, with my kids, with my husband, with my, family. But I have to learn to be okay with me if nobody acknowledges that, if nobody stands behind me, if no one showed up, I have to be okay with me. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate you clarifying that, because it's so true. I think nowadays, especially in our media culture, there's a sense of like, well, just do this, just do that, do these things. And it's, to your point, it's like, no, these are hard fought, hard won lessons that I had to go through. And there was emotion, there was a trauma, and I think that's one of the things people, unless they're put in that situation like you were, they don't want to face those things. And they don't want to have to do some of that hard work. And I think that's where we get, so we're off on a bit of a tangent now, but I'm just starting to think about it. I think that's where we get a lot of those individuals that are moving through the world sort of oblivious of who they are, what they're worth, where their value is. And, I only learned this maybe 2 years ago, but I was listening to something and they were talking about, it was like a 2-hour podcast with all this research, but essentially what I took away from, there's a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And I realized that I'd grown up with a fixed mindset where I'd gotten praise for certain things. And so I continued to do those things, which meant I didn't really push myself into other areas to be challenged. Nice. Because I didn't want to risk, lack of approval or, not feeling like I was worthy, all those sorts of things. And so it's in our own way, I think by the time you get to a certain age, it sounds like you had to kind of learn that pretty quick. On the fly at a young age, but it comes to you at some point, whether you, well, that's true. I was going to say, that's true. That's true. We've encountered those people where you're like, you've learned nothing and I can feel it.
Wow. You're still where you were. Okay. Yeah.
I said, I came up with this, I don't know, a couple of years ago, cause I've been doing a lot of emotional work, and as a guy moving through the world, like men have so many issues. Don't get me started. I mean, that's like, but as I've been opening up and meeting more men and learning about these things, I said to someone, it's almost like now I can see the Matrix. Like when I see someone flipping out about something and I'm observing it and I'm like, they're clearly not they're not having what's the word? They're not aware of what they're doing. They're not dealing with their trauma. They're not. It's not about the fact they didn't get ketchup with their burger. It's something else that's causing them to flip
there's
out.
another thing going on there. You bring up a really, I want to make sure I don't forget this while we're talking. This is such an important part when you talk about like the men component. I just had a really good meeting this last month here in Tucson. We have our Emerge Center for Domestic Violence. So you and I talked beforehand, another piece of that puzzle. I'm wearing my purple today, and because we talked a little bit before we got started, October, everyone's in their pink, and I have a big passion for supporting, breast cancer awareness. I have an aunt who's a survivor, and I love that we're in pink. My son's playing football this semester, and everyone's in their pink, and I love that. But purple, we were talking, or my favorite, pink and purple. But purple is a big part because it supports domestic violence survivors, and a part of my story. I ended up getting married to my daughter's father when she was 2, and we had 2 more beautiful children. I have 3 children, biological children, and we were married for 20 years. But there was domestic violence in my household, and because it was the father of my daughter, we were 15 and 18. We started that relationship. Domestic violence is so crazy because it's like, there's so many ways that you don't even realize when you're a survivor. I mean, it's like their face melts off, but you still see them. I don't know how to explain that any other way unless you're deeply affiliated with that. But there's a statistic that we kind of talked about, that 1 in 4 women are affected by domestic violence, or 1 in 4 people, not even just women. We've seen studies of men who've been affected by domestic violence. And so that was a part of our household, which was devastating. So I'm wearing my purple this month because October is important for me. I have all my spooky things. I can kind of see in the background. You see my cup. It's my tribute. It's my magic potion that I'm drinking this morning, which is just my coffee. But anyways, it's very festive. But it's important to me to champion that. And I met with the CEO of Emerge, which is our domestic violence center here. And I was blown away. She's a newer CEO here. And she just was such a phenomenal woman. But she was talking about how they're setting a program for men because they don't have a place where men can call when they're like, I'm losing it. And they can build character in young men, oftentimes sons in homes where there's been domestic violence exposure, but also men who have had challenges with anger management or whatever the case may be. Some of it can be court ordered, but some of it's just, hey, I have this group of guys and I feel like you'd be really good to connect with us and have a healthy outlet for how to process these things, because the reality is that men and women process things differently, and there is a need to be able to process that. And so I just, at the beginning of the year, I did an exercise where we did bingos, which were like our bingo chart, and we wrote in goals for the year. I like to achieve the goal. I'm competitive in that way. But one thing I put on there was I want to be affiliated with organizations that I haven't been affiliated with before. And this is an organization I hadn't been affiliated with. And so I tracked her down. I was like, I really, really want to connect with you. And I got a referral through another girlfriend who was like, hey, I think you need to connect with her, and I'm like, I'll do whatever. I want to help. I'm passionate about helping this mission through, I have a son, and I want to raise him to be the kind of young man. All my kids have been in therapy. I have great warrior kids. I have a new husband who's awesome and loves my children and has walked through this journey with us. But I want him to have these tools because I want him to be, he's so emotionally intelligent, but I want him to have the tools to be able to talk about it. It's so funny because yesterday he was like, oh, I'm going to be late to school. He was telling his buddy they were doing duo day for homecoming. And he goes, I have therapy in the morning, so I'll be late to school. I won't be there till like a little after 9. And he's like, physical therapy? And he goes, no, like psychological therapy. Like I go to therapy every other Wednesday. And his buddy was like, oh, okay. Like, it's just such that's a norm. And we have to do a good job of raising this next generation to know, like, as much as we care about our physical well-being, we care about our, mental well-being, and we're doing the things to be the healthiest individuals we can be. And we have an outlet to talk about that. And so I applaud you that you're on your journey, you're green and growing, and you're not ripe and rotting. And, cause that's the way to be. And I think that, our whole life, we should be striving for that. So, everyone has a story. Some people talk here our intimate details of our story. They're like, well, my story is not like yours, but it's not a contest. We're not competing. I think we all go through difficult things. But really it's about how your story will mean something to someone else. And there are people who identify with a piece of your story, who see you, who only may see the exterior, the cool, actually so cool with his signature glasses, and he's doing a podcast, he's doing that thing, but you have walked a journey that is meaningful to someone. And I hope that when people survey Linsday Knott, and because people do, the overall survey is that that's a title, that's a name. And I wrote this on LinkedIn not that long ago, but we're so much more than the resume.
Absolutely.
But there is a person behind that lived experience. And so, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, hopefully you recognize like that's just a person. And so the first step is reaching out. And that's been a theme. You asked earlier about my journey. From the time I started, it was like, hey, can we connect? Can I talk to you? Can you teach me something? And I still do that. And I hope I still do. I hope when I'm sitting in a nursing home somewhere, I'm still like, hey, Flo, tell me about your life. I hope I'm still learning about people, because I think each story makes us a better human and helps us to be a better person. So.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's so much there. I have two boys, and I didn't realize it early on, but I was teaching them the things I was not taught. I grew up in a home. I mean, it's interesting. You talk about people sort of, it's like this competition, like, ooh, your trauma is more dramatic than mine, or, and it's this weird sort of comparison that we do in our head. But, as part of the conversations and the work I've been doing, there's this, we talk about big T's and little T's. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, there's the big T's. And people are like, well, I didn't experience that. So what have I got to complain about? It's like, no, but all those little T's add up. And it could be as something as simple as a slight that happened from a teacher when you were in elementary school. But that story has been imprinted, and it's now affecting how you respond. And so it's been really powerful for me now that my kids are teenagers to be able to have those conversations and get them to look beyond, like, sure, the person reacted this way to that moment, but like, what do you think was going on there? Or why are you feeling the way you're feeling? I mean, that feeling is something that I was never raised understanding, like how to identify emotions. Oh, yeah. And so there's that sense of like, and it was interesting because my youngest, for a while, he would get very physical. And it took me realizing that it was because he wasn't feeling heard. We weren't listening to him. His big brother was like kind of getting the attention. And so it's been a process of engaging with him and having him start to identify like, well, what's going, like, how are you feeling? What are the things? And it's so, I mean, my whole growing up, it was like, oh, that's wooey. Oh, that's whatever. But it's like, no, that's being a human being.
That's right.
That's how we interact. That's how we move through. And I'm so proud of them and the growth they've made and the observations they make now about the world. And I'll say it, of myself, for being able to kind of look at these things. Uh-huh. And I mean, circling back to your point about sort of Domestic Violence Month, I mean, I was saying to you in the green room that I had someone approach me when I was at an early job, a colleague, and she approached me because she knew the kind of work that my wife did, which was in that area. And so I connected them, and then I subsequently started learning the statistics around one in four relationships. And I then had multiple coworkers. I started to see aspects of that in my upbringing. And it was sort of this crazy sort of onion or ripple effect of realizing like, you're only a degree or so away from someone going through something, someone that's been in a situation. And to your point, sharing aspects of your story, allow them, they see something, and it may not mean they're going to respond and reach out to you, but it now gives them an opportunity to say, oh, maybe that is something I should go talk to someone about, or that happened to me. And I love what you've brought up a few times here, which is like, we all kind of move through the world with other people, and it's about sort of building those relationships and having those moments and learning and always growing. And so I love that. We've gone way over time, so I hope you're good. Or you hope you're good with time. I want to give a shout out to some of the people that chimed in here. Nick Haynes, thank you for joining us, and John Story. He was saying that when my mother was 17, that's when I was born. And so he was sort of understanding some of that dynamic and those challenges. So thank you for tuning in, everyone. But so, I mean, I feel like we could go on and on. Maybe we need to do a follow-up conversation. But for the moment we kind of re-met, I guess, when we're at the latest Fast Pitch with Rebecca, I just felt this energy and this wonderful just openness and compassion from you. And so I appreciate that. And I can only imagine how that has then impacted all the people you're interacting with through the work you're doing at the Mosaic Quarter, and just building that community and that connection and those opportunities for bringing people together, whether it's through sports or through entertainment or through other events. It's something that we need more of, for sure.
Well, whomever sees this and wants to engage, I think that's the beauty of it being a privately held facility. Frank and I own that. It's
Mm-hmm.
local. We are able to do that. So when people are coming and saying, hey, we want this opportunity, we have organizations that come and say, hey, we want to have our constituents affiliated. We're like, let's talk about how we can do that, how we make that work, how a rising tide raises all boats. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's been a part of we live that. I think that's been a big part. So I would encourage, like, hopefully the one thing we get is how can we collaborate? Because we want our community to be, we're here, we've been here. I've been in Tucson for 13, 14 years, and this is where we will be. And so if people want to reach out and say, hey, I want to know more about Mosaic Quarter, great. But I think people do business with people that they see authentically show up.
Mm-hmm.
And the people behind the business, it's not transactional for us. It really is a lived passion. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunity for people to just sometimes be like, I just didn't know her, but I know that. And I think, our perception, when I first met you presenting, I was like, oh, this presenter guy, he's so together, he's so innovative and cool. But we've had an opportunity to build a deep relationship and see each other. And there's a connection there. And then that gives us an opportunity to grow, for me to say, hey, tune into what Ashley's doing, support what Ashley's doing, and vice versa, for you to say, hey, I want to promote who she is, that woman behind what she's doing. And I think there's all good things that come from that. So if there's a way we can continue to create that momentum, I definitely want to be a part of that moving forward.
Absolutely. And that's what this is all about, that positive impact. And I love that's such a broad sort of category.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are having impact in a positive way across a whole lot of different things in different ways. And so I thank you for that. I do want to, we've talked about some, I don't want to say heavy topics, but important, potentially heavy topics for some people. And I'm curious, though, it sounds like you get a tremendous amount of joy from the work you do in your family, but I'm curious if there's anything that is just for you, that is like to recharge, to have fun, to let go, whatever those things are. I'm curious what those are.
So I love to be creative. My kids know, like, from the time they were little, I was always like the party planner, the memory maker. That's my big thing.
The memory maker, I like that.
They are like, Mom, you drive us crazy. I'm always taking the photos. That's a big part of that. It's become like in my DNA, because, time is our most precious commodity. Like, we're always taking from it. We're never giving to it. So even like today, I'm like, this is our moment, and I want to freeze frame this, because once it's gone, we're never going to get it back. And so I take a ton of photos. We just did a trip. We call ourselves the Crazy Eight now. So I'm married to Frank. He has 3 children. I have 3 children. We have the Brady Bunch.
Oh, wow.
So we're the Crazy Eight, and we travel because we're bi-coastal. I married a Yankee from Baltimore originally, which is hilarious because I'm a princess of the wild frontier. I'm from the lineage of Davy Crockett, and he's like, I got a wild Texas, I don't know what she is, sparkly disco ball. And he's so reserved and chill. So he's so precious. And so we have these kids that all get together. Our oldest, Becca's 26. Mm-hmm. Then we have 2 21-year-olds. I have a 21-year-old and he has a 21-year-old. Then we have a 19-year-old. He's playing EHL hockey, and he's in Rhode Island. So we do a lot of hockey at our house because we support him while he's playing juniors hockey. And then we have a 16-year-old, Charlie. She's still in DC area where she's in school. And then Mason, my youngest, is 15, and he's a freshman at Micah Mountain High School here in Vail, Tucson. Yeah. So we get everyone together. We travel. We love that. We love to do adventures, and I curate when we're doing that. So we've zip lined, and we've kayaked, and we did a trip to Hawaii for 2 weeks this summer, and we every day had an adventure we were doing. And Frank is not an adventurer. You should know that about my precious husband. He is not. But I make him do all these adventures, and he promised when we did our vows, he was like, I will adventure more with you, because
I will adventure more.
Yeah, that's in his vows. And I'm like, you vowed it. You have to. So he's the best, and he does do those things, and the kids love it. And they all spoke at our wedding. It was precious. We've been married a little over a year, been together 5. And they even said, we love Lindsay makes dad do these adventures. So it's so good. And so I love to do that. He loves to cook and we like to eat. So I used to cook all the time, but I say that's his workshop. He's like, that's like Santa in the workshop in the kitchen. So we like to look at recipes. Those are the things we like to do. And we support Mason. My son plays baseball, travel baseball. So we are sports fans. So those are the things we do with our time. But yeah, we have.
I love it. Lindsay, the memory maker.
The memory maker.
That's a pretty good
listen,
moniker.
Whatever we're gonna do, it's gonna be memorable. So just know, I don't care where we go or what we do. You can ask anyone who's spent any amount of time with me. It's gonna be memorable, and it will probably be documented.
It's gonna be memorable. We're gonna have documentation, and there will be good food.
It will.
Sounds like
we'll eat like king and queen. So just sign up. We're gonna have a good time. So
that's what I
shared negatively, because I'm like, we're all about creating our happiness. So just know it's gonna be a good time. We're gonna laugh a lot. So yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. It's been wonderful to chat with you and reconnect with you. I think the last time we had an in-depth conversation was, God, I think just before I had Rebecca on my show. She was like guest number one. And so that was coming right off of the heels of Fast Pitch and that. And I mean, to your point about like, you share your story and people will find elements in there that they connect to. And that's exactly what happened is I went to Fast Pitch. I heard Rebecca speak. We met, sort of reconnected. And I was like, I need to get to know these individuals. And I think that's a perfect example there. You shared your story openly and I connected and here we are. So I love it.
I'm really proud. I'm proud of all my kids, but I'm really proud that to see, it's a great joy when you see your kids grow and you see who they become. And if you empower your children, it's like the seed you've hopefully watered and you've put your time into, and then you like let them. Mel V does her let them thing. And it's almost like let them, like when people are not great, you're like, let them. But for me, it's like freeing, because
it's not abandoning responsibility. It's just like, let them explore.
Let them just like flower, let them bloom, let them be. And I think, two takeaways before we hang up, because I really want to make sure that people hear these things.
Yeah,
one, the greatest advice for me, there are two things that I got. One is to pick a word for the year. I've been doing this for years, and I every year I pick a word. This year my word is thrive.
Okay.
For me, my faith is a big part of my value. So I always try to match it with a verse that I'm like, this fixed. That's not your thing. That's not your jam. Don't worry about that part. Find a quote, whatever works for you. But you pick your word. So mine's thrive this year. I spend a lot of time in December, like preparing for this. I'm like looking at things that matter to me, trying to look through what I think really resonates with me. I mean, I have done this. One year, my word, be careful with your word. Let me just start with that. Be cautious, because if you pick a word,
I have a cautionary tale about a word. We can talk about it in a sec.
Be careful about that. But I picked health one year. We got really healthy. I mean, I've had words like purpose, and I killed it professionally, but I had to pick health the next year because I was like drained. So, I mean, like, I picked some really, but every year, one year I picked flourish. It was one of the hardest years of my life. But in December, my oldest gave me this charm for my Pandora bracelet. It was flowers. She goes, Mom, I just want you to know that sometimes when you're charred earth, the thing that comes up is the blooms that are afterwards. And you're flourishing, Mom. I know you don't feel like it, but I see it. So I just think like, picking a word for the year gives you purpose, and put it where you see it everywhere. I mean, I have it on the bottom of my monitor at the office. I keep it in front of me. I have a whole note that I go to, and I have a quote for each month. Like, I'm passionate about my word. And this year my word has been thriving. It's so great. It's 2025. So I'm thriving in 2025. It has become a big mantra for me. And I think if anyone hears one thing from this, it's like, even if it's okay, it's October, we only have a few months, find your word, carry it out through the rest of the year, and get ready for next year. Prepare yourself for next year, because when you put it in front of you, I think you are subconsciously moving towards that. And I think you need to have a subconscious vision of like, where am I driven? And if I'm off task, I need to realign and get back on, correct my path. So that's one thing. And the other piece of advice I got that was the best advice I got from this guy, he told me, have your own personal board of directors. I've served on many boards. I'm serving as chair of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'm non-Hispanic. It has been the most humbling. I've accomplished some things that I see in my life that I feel imposter syndrome. Like, I don't really belong here. Why? You guys know I'm not Hispanic, right? They're like, Lindsay, we embrace diversity, equity, inclusion. You can have conversations with people that we couldn't. Things like this. So I've served on many boards. But if you have a personal board of directors, this is the people that should be on that. Someone who knows you and knows your business. someone who knows you and doesn't know your business, someone who doesn't know you and knows your business, and someone who doesn't know you and doesn't know your business. And as you continue to interact with your board, this fictitious board, like it's not established, right?
Yep.
But as you're meeting with them, everyone starts to move into that knows your board. So you constantly are adding these board of directors into these slots. And as you're doing this, you're staying sharp on life, whether it's your personal things you're accomplishing as you're the CEO of yourself, whether it's professionally, someone who knows your business, meaning what I'm driving to professionally. But this has been a game changer for me because I'm constantly like, I'm missing a seat. I don't have someone in here who doesn't know me, but knows my business. Someone who maybe knows what struggles I'm going through personally, or I'm in development and I want to make sure I'm adding people who know about, sports entertainment complexes or a big regional development. And sometimes you have to go outside of your pond. So like I'm looking network, like large network, but I constantly find myself filling that board, and it has helped me to be accountable for people who are like, Linz, not your best, work on or Linz, great job. And I see you. And I think if we will work on that, it gives us an opportunity. So if there's one thing I share, I think, being a gatekeeper and trying to be the best by yourself does nothing for us. So let's try to help each other to be the best we can be. And so if you take nothing from today, please take that so that we can try to be better for each other.
I love it. I love it. Some parting advice. So have your word for the year. Something that you've really thought about, and it's right there. It's ever present, so you're being reminded. And then have your personal board of directors to challenge you, hold you accountable, call BS, like whatever that is, to help you always be growing and thriving and being all that you can be. So that's right. Either I use the word thriving. There we go.
There you go. See, it's like out there now. You're
it's
gonna
out there now.
Yeah, I'm picking up our word. But
exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, we've gone way over, and I love it. I could keep chatting for longer, so we might have to do a follow-up. But Lindsay, thank you so much for your time and your wonderful, abundant energy and your great suggestions and your positivity. And good luck in continued community building with Mosaic Quarter. And say hi to the fam there, the 8 is enough, or the crazy however you're crazy 8. That was it. Crazy 8. I love it.
Do the same. I bundle up there in the Pacific Northwest.
I know. I'm gonna have to get my
come down and see us because we
definitely. Well, if you're ever up this way, look me up, and vice versa. So, but thank you again, Lindsay, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Cheers. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I want to thank Lindsay again for just giving of herself and just being that glowing energy that I love on this show. If you missed this, the replay is available on LinkedIn and YouTube, or you can listen to it on your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share with your friends. And join me next week, October 23rd, for my special guest, Erin O'Mara. Erin is a journalist, changemaker, and fierce advocate for the power of local news. Wow, do we need that now? She's the founder of she's the founder of Journalism New England. She's on a mission to help small independent outlets across the region grow, innovate, and thrive because every community deserves access to strong, credible reporting. She believes journalism isn't just about informing people, it's about connecting them. So join me next week, the 23rd, for that conversation. Before we go, a big shout out to our sponsor, MakerTank. Visit makertank.com today to join the exclusive founders waiting list. And until next time, a big thank you to everyone for creating a positive impact in your world. Together, we can make change happen. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. Cheers.